You don't have to explain how heavy it feels right now. I can see it in the way your shoulders curve forward, like you're holding something that you can't see, but your body feels every moment. I can hear it in your voice, in the way it tries to sound steady, but trembles just slightly at the edges. I can feel it in those pauses between your sentences, the kind of pauses that aren't for thinking, but for catching the breath you didn't realize you were holding. You're here, breathing, surviving. But if you're honest, it doesn't quite feel like living anymore. I know that weight. I know the nights that feel far too long, the ones where the clock glows on the nightstand, and each minute ticks louder than the last. I know what it's like to lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling your thoughts pool around you like cold water, and no matter how you shift, you just can't get warm. And then the mornings, the ones that arrive whether you're ready or not, the ones you meet not with excitement, but with that quiet sigh that says, here we go again. People have probably told you, it will get better. They might have said it with love, with conviction. And maybe you nodded because you didn't want to argue. But inside you thought, they don't know my night. They don't know how long I've been here. Maybe you're right. Maybe they don't. But I want to tell you a story. Not because I think a story can fix everything, but because sometimes a story can slip past the walls we've built and plant something small, a seed, a seeker, a reason to take one more step. There was a woman named Elena. From the outside, her life looked fine. She had a job that paid the bills, a small apartment with plants in the window, friends she texted on birthdays and holidays. To anyone else, she looked steady, but inside, she had stopped noticing the color of things. She drank her coffee in the morning without tasting it. She walked past the same trees every day without seeing them. She heard the rain on the roof, but didn't feel anything about it. Not peace, not joy, not even sadness, just nothing. She told herself she was fine, just tired, that it was a season she'd grow out of. But the truth was, she was living in the shadows of her own life, running on habit, on motion without meaning. The days blurred into each other, and the nights were worse. One of those nights when her thoughts wouldn't quiet, she swung her legs over the side of the bed and decided there was no point in trying anymore. Not to sleep, not to force herself into stillness. She pulled on a sweater, stepped into her worn slippers, and opened the door. The air outside was cool and still, the kind of stillness that feels like the world is holding its breath. She didn't expect much from it, just a break from the stale air of her room. But then she saw something. Far on the horizon, a faint streak of light. Thin, barely there, almost shy. She stood there in the quiet, arms crossed against the chill, and watched as the black sky slowly softened into deep blue. And the deep blue melted into gold. The gold didn't ask if she was ready. It didn't wait until she felt strong. It just came, slow, steady, certain. She went inside that morning feeling not fixed, but different. Something small had shifted. The next morning she walked again, and the morning after that. At first, just to the end of the street, but then further. She started noticing things she hadn't in years. A stubborn flower pushing through a crack in the sidewalk. The smell of fresh bread drifting from the bakery on the corner, the sound of her own footsteps echoing in the still air. The heaviness was still there, but it no longer owned every second. Some mornings she woke up and it was already waiting on her chest, but other mornings she could leave it behind for a little while. One afternoon, rain caught her on her way home. No umbrella. Her first thought was to hurry, to shield herself, but she didn't. She slowed down. Let the drops run across her hands. The rain was soft, almost warm, and before she could think about it, she laughed. Not the polite kind, but the kind that bursts out of you, surprising and unpracticed. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed that sound. Not every day was easy. There were still nights that dragged. Mornings she stayed in bed, but she was changing. She started talking to the baker who opened shop at dawn, bought herself fresh flowers, not because she needed them, but because she wanted them. Caught herself humming while making tea. She began to understand storms would still come, but the mornings would always follow. One cold morning, she stood by her window, holding a mug of coffee she could finally taste again. Frost painted delicate patterns across the glass. It looked fragile, temporary, and she realized so was her night. It would melt, not all at once, not neatly, but it would. She never claimed she was healed. But she knew now the sun rises for everyone, no matter how deep the dark has been. And if the sun could show up every single day without fail, maybe she could too. That's why I'm telling you this, because I don't know where you are in your own night. Maybe you're staring at the ceiling, hearing the clock tick too loud. Maybe you're already outside, walking in the quiet. Maybe you're somewhere in between. But wherever you are, your morning is coming. Whether you're ready or not, whether you believe it or not, it won't ask permission. It won't wait for you to feel whole. It will just come, soft, steady, unshakable. And when it does, you'll realize you've made it this far. You've carried yourself through nights you thought would never end. You've kept breathing through storms you thought would break you. And you're still here. Your night might be long. Your steps might be slow. But the morning, the stubborn, unstoppable morning, will find you. And when it does, you'll see it for what it is. Not the end of your darkness, but the proof that you can walk through it.